Okay. Hello, recording. Welcome. Okay, so we have a few questions from Michelle. Her first question was a go-to-market strategy question, and it is about finding beta testers. How can she find beta testers? Well, I've got a good option for you. Our group.
Yeah.
Our group,
Right.
our Slack channel, we actually offer free testing for your product in our Slack channel. Our team will test it, and then if others are interested, they'll test it as well. So we love the startup community, and that is one of our ways that we can just give back. But aside from that, gaining beta testers, it really does depend on what your product is. So you can find a group that's really niche to the specific audience that you're trying to reach, and just post the link. If it's definitely free, it can't be, your sales funnel, or at least they can't have that perception until later. So definitely, this is something free. I just want your advice. Go ahead and capture their email address for later, and then just post it in a group or in under a thread in a forum is also a good option. If people are talking about a topic, and then you post, hey, I'm looking for beta testers who's on this topic, then people might be really interested and jump in. But typically, my overall advice is you got to be a little scrappy. You got to be creative, especially at the beginning when no one knows who you are. Just make the offer sound appealing, or appeal to them from an aspect of, hey, you have this awesome knowledge. I really need help. I just love your advice. If someone approached me like that because I'm a good person, I do it. I do it. I'm not gonna, just say, no, get out of my face. I'm gonna do it. And most people are that way. Did anyone else have a question? I mean, a response to this question?
As Cara just mentioned as well, accelerators and incubators are really good kind of places to get that feedback, and we do that at Startup ROI. Another one that a lot of ones that they underutilize. So as Cara again said, you have to be scrappy, you have to be innovative in your research as well. So one that's often overlooked is your local universities and colleges. Reach out to the professors or the student organizations to inquire, about, is there any students there who would like to be beta testers? Because a lot of times they're entrepreneurs themselves or want to be entrepreneurs. So that'll kind of give them an incentive. Oh, let me test your product. So this is probably one of the stages I have to do as well. So it gives them that insight as well. And they're always eager to kind of give them early access to your product, real world experience on a beta test. And I say beta because I'm from Ireland. You say beta because you're from the US. But yeah, that's one that's often overlooked.
Yeah, I think you nailed them all. And I think scrappy was the key word. You just got to be creatively scrappy and just think about all the spaces that are adjacent or associated with where you're trying to get feedback. So kind of go through your own ecosystem and figure out what things touch it, and then see if there are groups, et cetera, that you can reach into from that perspective.
Good point. Paul, don't want to leave you out if you have anything you wanted to add. Yay, nay, beta testers?
No, nothing yet. But believe me, I'll chime in when I do, for sure.
Okay. So next question is on a sales related question. And they weren't very specific. They said launching and how to launch. So that is kind of a loaded question. Again, it helps with context to know how to launch. There are a couple of great resources, depending, of course, on your product and your sales model, but there are a few resources for launching, such as Product Hunt is a great resource because you can launch your product in front of a large audience, and if you're presenting it in a way that's appealing, you can actually get quite a few people to at least click on your website. So you can get all of that traffic at the beginning. So Product Hunt, it doesn't work for all situations. It doesn't work for all sales models. But if you have not looked into Product Hunt to see if it suits yours, then definitely give it a try. There are a few methods for marketing or prepping for a Product Hunt launch. One of those is getting an influencer or someone who frequently hunts. That's what it's called on the platform. But someone who frequently hunts other startup launches, and they tend to have people tend to hunt things they hunt because they frequently hunt. So get in touch with them. They often provide their contact information. You can get in contact with them. They're also on freelance platforms too. Ask them if they'd be willing to hunt your product at a peak time, at a peak hunting time, and they'll likely know, and that is also available online. If they hunt your product, then it's likely that you'll get a lot of responses when you launch. So that is my Product Hunt advice if you guys are considering that route. And then aside from that, it just, as I said, it depends. If you are targeting an larger customers, so enterprise customers, then or mid-market customers, you are going to want to have pilots rather than spontaneous traffic. So targeting positions that are they have a budget already for your type of product. So pay attention to like their LinkedIn profile. It likely says in the about section what they're looking for. So if you can catch them during times when they are actually searching, they're likely to be open. And when I say positions, I mean a good place to start is innovation position, director of innovation, chief, whatever innovation, head of innovation, because that's what they do all day long. So that is a good place to start if you're targeting that. And you want to have a good pilot strategy, which I can't give you all of the advice about a good pilot strategy right now because it'd be a lot. But just you want to start free, then likely, depending upon your situation. So start free and then make it so that you can profit quickly. That's my advice. You want to start free. It's not always though that you need a full. And I'm sorry. It feels like I'm just going on a trail, but I want to make sure that I bring this up because often the perception for a startup is that I have to have everything complete and everything ready before a company would be willing to pilot my product. And that's really not the case. You need to first align with the problem that they're trying to solve, because that means you're investable from their standpoint. So you need to be trying to solve their problem. You need to have something to present to them. And that can be an ugly prototype. That can be something that's not even fully functional, but it shows the basis of what you're trying to deliver. If you can demonstrate that to them, and then show them the results within a short period of time, then you're in. You're in. So the goal really is to, I think I said this a couple calls back, is to get them to pay you to build it. So if you can spend less time building a prototype, less time and money, let's face it, we're all thinking about money. So less time and money to build a prototype that will get you that result, someone being open to piloting, then they can actually fund the rest of the build. So you just present to them a roadmap that makes sense, how quickly you can get it to them, and even be open to customizing based upon their needs. That was a lot. I hope that it's helpful though. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add, Kira, but can you drop the resource in the chat? I think you called it, I think I heard Product Hunt.
Product Hunt. Yes.
Hunt. Thank you. Yes.
Hunt.
That would be great. And then I was thinking about someone that might not really have a sense of what the hunt is, to maybe just explain what that is, like when you're looking for somebody that's going to hunt for you.
Yeah. Drop it in our chat for
yeah, in this chat for the even though you just said it, Product Hunt. Yeah, it's Product Hunt.
Yeah, I got
I was hearing Product Ton.
Oh,
Product
I just mixed them together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's Hunt. So on this tool, and it's a really great tool. It's been around for a few years, but basically you get upvotes. So you get upvotes from a crowd, and those that are at the top, they are the ones that receive massive amounts of traffic. So you want to get to the top. You want to get someone who frequently hunts to give you the thumbs up by upvoting you. And if they do that, then likely the people who also follow them will follow you.
I was just acting as newbie eyes and ears, just in case you didn't know. So I thought I'd ask.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Product hunt is definitely something that's they should definitely utilize that. It's amazing. It's so funny when Cheryl said, you know, what are you saying? I obviously know of Product Hunt, so I was like, but I did the same thing happened. I was like, I couldn't quite make it out with what Kara was saying, but all brilliant tips, Kara. Just, you know, really build anticipation with your pre-launch activities as well. You know, generate excitement and anticipation before your actual launch. You know, do like teaser campaigns and sneak peeks and beta testing, which we've just spoke about as well, so you can get them, you know, the feedback and the testimonials per se. You know, maybe exclusive previews to build interest on what you're planning to build, and, you know, the bigger story, you know, or do it in sections, you know, so really kind of like build that up, get the buzz going before you even approach to get the pilots done. So you have all this feedback and information and excitement, and people have tested your product, or they like your, you know, your creative campaign or your teaser campaigns, etc. So yeah, just get the buzz going.
Yes, I love that point. I really like, or what tends to work well for really all industries or all target audiences, is if you are able to educate your market prior to the launch. So especially if you have something that's unique. Often, well, I know that everyone says, you know, that's not what I'm talking about. When I say unique, I mean something that the market isn't necessarily doing in the way that you're presenting it. Because your audience may not readily gravitate toward what you're trying to present, because, you know, or maybe they're using some other tool that they're used to, and that tool works fine. Why is yours better? You know, or, you know, something like that. Or maybe they use multiple tools, those they work fine. So what you want to do is find a way that you can and communicate to your audience. So find your audience wherever they are, and then figure out a way to, or a cadence that of telling your story to communicate to your audience. Something that I really like for that is LinkedIn newsletters, because I use them and I like it a lot, is building creating a topic for your newsletter. So, and I mean on your personal LinkedIn profile, create a topic that is actually the narrative of your product. So this topic, if someone were interested in it, they would likely be interested in your product. So, and use that, build an audience around that topic. Use macro trends. I say that often, and I had to explain what that was. And I hope I'm saying it clearly and not messing the word together, but macro trends. So this is something that affects a wide group of people. So if your topic is something that affects a wide group of people, but it also closely relates to your product, then it's probably going to be a sweet spot for you. And it'll give you lots to talk about, because if it's a hot topic and it affects a wide group of people, there are tons of other articles about this. And you can write this versus this. You can write, you can take something that the news is describing and spin out your take on what that topic is. There's lots that you can do, but the point is to write a few articles. If you're using the LinkedIn newsletter element, write a few articles that will really kind of lead people on the journey to your launch. And then offer teasers. I think Kelly may have mentioned teasers, but lead magnets, different white papers, different things that they can download or grab and share that actually help them understand what your product is. That is a great avenue. Also, there's video content, which we know does well on all platforms. So YouTube, creating a YouTube channel and using the same method. I like LinkedIn newsletter because you can gain subscribers that get an email each time you drop an article. YouTube does the same thing. If you subscribe to YouTube, if some people subscribe to your channel, you'll get an email, or people will get an email each time you drop a new video. So if you are, if you like video content, that's the way to go. But again, use the same method. Try to find topics that are going to be really relatable to your target audience, and then begin talking about, those topics that affect your audience and that also align with your product on YouTube or on Vimeo, OTT, which I like, so that you can maybe monetize it later. But all of this should lead up to your launch. So what I'm actually describing is a go-to-market strategy, something that you map out months before your actual launch. So if you need more help, this looks different for everybody, then you definitely need to check out our accelerator so that we can work through these things with you and help you understand the best plan for you. But definitely there's tons of methods like this. But I think overall again, to summarize what I'm saying is you want to teach your audience. You want to inform them about the topics related around your solution. Anyone else have anything else to add?
I thought that was so stellar. And I'm going to loop it back to your comment about being investable. Yeah, investable. I wrote that down right. So I think I've always thought this, but your process is part of your product. So understanding that anyone that's looking at investing is going to look at the way your strategy and the way you come. And candidly, even if you're in sales, someone would be looking at the way you sell. If you're in marketing and you're pitching marketing, they're going to be looking at the way you do your marketing. So if you're an uncommon marketing company, you should be uncommon in your approach to go to market because it speaks to your brand. So I just wanted to tie those back together. But yeah, this is the fun part. There are lots of different ways to do it. So
Yes, yes, I could keep going, just piggybacking on what you're saying. Yeah, it's all about how you can present yourself in unique ways and stand out early before you launch. So this is good, well planned out strategy prior to your launch. And I think just as an entrepreneur, knowing in the entrepreneur's heart, it is hard to, we're rushing. We want to get to that launch, part. And it's like, okay, yeah, all of this stuff, but what's this part? But you want to do it right. You want to take your time. You want to plan it. You want to really kind of lead your audience to the launch rather than just saying, here it is. Here it is, buy it, so that does not work. You want to lead them there. And if you can do that and you can do that well, then your launch will likely be successful, or at least successful to the point, maybe not if successful in your eyes, but successful. You will get some people. I have to correct myself because I set aggressive goals, and sometimes I don't think that I was successful because I didn't meet 100 people or whatever my aggressive goal was. That doesn't mean it wasn't successful. If I got a few, that's success. So again, being able to look at your goals objectively is something that you have to work on as well, especially in this space. But definitely go-to-market strategy is clearly something that we all enjoy. So you guys want to join our group to chat more about this. Join our Slack channel because we're active in the group and we'll chat with you. And then if you are so inclined and want to actually build things with us and build out your strategy with us, then you should jump into our accelerator. Apply to our accelerator. There is an application process, but likely we'd love to have you. So there's another question, and this is in regards to funding. And I love that they said finding grants rather than jumping directly to investors. They said finding grants or when to know when to start pitching, how to know, I'm rephrasing their question, how to know when to start pitching to investors. I'm going to let someone else take this one to get started. Go for it. Anyone?
I'll do it just really quickly. Again, in our Slack group from Startup ROI Founders Community, we frequently share lots of grant applications, so, things that we come up with. We share them in a Slack channel. But addition to that, there's a few websites as well that they utilize grant databases like GrantWatch or grants.gov or Foundation Directory Online. I can't speak today. Foundation Directory Online, yes. And Crunchbase. Crunchbase is probably the most widely known. The others really aren't. But again, you have to be, what was it, Kiara called it, scrappy? That doesn't mean we want you to fight with everybody, just to make that clear, because in Ireland, scrappy means let's go. But yeah, you just have to be innovative in what you're looking for, and another thing, stay updated on competitions and challenges. They're all over the place. Sometimes it's applicable to you, sometimes it won't, but they have innovation contests, and startup competitions and stuff. And many of those programs offer grants or cash prizes to winners. And when you're participating in these events, not just for the grants or the monetary value, you can secure your funding, yes, but it also allows you to showcase your startup and gain visibility in your industry as well. So exposure, again, I don't mean anything untoward there, exposure for your startup and what's going on, and your story matters. It's what makes you stand out more as well, because there's lots of innovative I cannot talk today. There's lots of innovative products out there, but your story is what makes your product that unique as well. People like to, deal with people. It doesn't matter if your product or service is amazing. They might not want to buy it because they're buying it from you. They're buying it from your story. So tell your story.
I'll add to that along the same lines, conferences that are happening in your local area, or maybe there's a national one that you say, I really want to be part of this. That can give you access to knowing about the specific grants and even funding and competitions and all the things in your specific space. And I wouldn't sleep on Eventbrite. Like Eventbrite has a bunch of local startups getting together, and you can just pop in there. It's an hour. It's not a huge investment of time. It's typically going to be within 15 miles from you. And they typically will have continual, like a cadence of events. So you can just pick one, go and start meeting people. And then you can keep in touch with them without continually going to the event if you don't want to. So those are a few of additional areas.
Awesome. Again, just those are really great. Those are really great comments. That just on the hunt for when you're hunting for grants, try to choose grants that are catered to you. So if you're a woman, find women's grants. If you're minority, find minority grants. If you are catering to a specific audience and there are grants related to your audience, then choose that. If it's related to your product. So when I say audience, there are state grants that fund particular small business growth for the economy. So look for things like that. That would cause you to stand out. Like, I'm a small business, I'm doing this in my state. So that would make you stand out. And then also, I think I was losing my train of thought. Also, if it's specific to your the technology that you're building, like I was just looking at grants the other day, and I found a few that were very specific to different types of technology. So definitely look for things like that it will enable you to stand out. And if you're in the AI space, looking for grants, there are tons of them, but follow OpenAI, because they have competition. Like right now, they have one that it's catered toward the voting process. So if you can create something that would help the voting process be less, less, I don't know how to say this without bashing our government, but things don't happen the way
cumbersome.
Yeah, yeah, or bias sometimes. Yeah, polls are tampered with. So what they're looking to do is create something with AI that would prevent this. And it's a competition happening right now. And if you can win a competition like that, not only does it give you the money that you need, but it gives you credibility in the space, because that is a big problem that people are trying to solve. So definitely follow them, because I came across that and I thought, oh wow, that is a really cool thing that you guys are doing. So just pay attention to companies that produce things like that often. Anything you want to add in regards to the question about how to know when to start pitching to investors?
I think, it's when you have It's hard to know because every investor is different, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, do you have a core team, a solid team? You know, do you have traction, customers? That's going to answer pretty much by default, you know, any question in an investor's mind. Do you have a core team, solid team, and do you have traction? That's pretty much it. Everything else is just, quite honestly, a load of BS. So, you know, if you don't have one of those, then you probably shouldn't be pitching investors.
That was a really good point. That's a really good point. I like how it's straightforward. Paul, did you have something else?
Oh, well, now I do. And the reason why I am so candid and kind of rough with my approach, because that's how investors are going to be with you. You know, I mean, they're literally going to tell you, I think you're full of crap, you know, and they might not tell you in such colorful words. Some investors are nicer than others, but some of them are jerks. So you just have to be ready for that. So the way I said it is, it's necessary, you know, because, you know, you can think you have the greatest product in the world, but again, you know, if your customers don't think so, then, well, your investors won't think so either. So, and it does start with your core team, because your product will change over time, your company will change over time, but you know, how adaptable is the, sorry for the noise in the bathroom, how adaptable is the team, right? From a leadership perspective, how do they deal with trials and tribulations of the market, unforeseen occurrences, and so forth. So you got to have a solid team. I think Steve Jobs said, you know, you want to be a great judge of character, and the biggest investment that you can ever make is in a team. So you have to be a great judge of character, because you know, products and companies will change over time, but we need the team to kind of be able to push through, you know, those ambiguous situations. So, and that's really a surface level answer. You know, you can dig more into that by doing your own research and figuring out, you know, different things to look for in personality types, how to build a core team. You know, and obviously you have to do a lot of market research to understand how to gain customer traction. So that's all I have to say.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, so just to reiterate what Paul's saying, get traction and build your team. If you guys are wondering about questions about building your team, that's actually our next, kind of leading to our next question, which I think Kelly would be a great person to answer the question. So finding the right IT co-founder is a question from Gregory. I'll let you take that, Kelly.
Okay, so, sorry guys, I have to actually go to another meeting, but I'm going to answer this pretty quickly, Gregory, but you can reach out to me in the Slack channel, Gregory, to go more deeper in that. But, you know, you want to utilize, so first of all, where to find them, you know, utilize platforms dedicated to connecting startup founders with each other and potential co-founders. You know, again, we have that on our group, but there's other places like AngelList and LinkedIn and Co-Founders Lab, and another two that are not always easy to navigate, but Discord is fantastic, especially if you're looking for a technology co-founder. Technology is such a broad range, do you know what I mean? It's such a wide thing. For example, one of our portfolios is looking for autonomous driving specialist, but it's within the technology spectrum. But a software engineer and blockchain probably wouldn't know much about that. So you have to really hone in on the domains as well. But when you start speaking to them, analyze the gaps, the existing skills within your startup, including your own expertise, identify any specific technical areas or skill gaps, evaluate the cultural fit. Are you aligned in mission and vision? Because that's one thing, if you don't get that aligned straight away, it does not matter how talented or how widely known this person is or how great they can tell their story. If they're not looking in the same direction as you are, it will fall apart. So, as I said, assess their domain knowledge, consider their entrepreneurial experience as well. So if they've already been in a startup, or they've interned at a startup, or, they've friends that are startups and there's some kind of knowledge, that is also beneficial. How good are they at problem solving and adaptability? You're going to change and pivot a lot within a startup. They have to be able to pivot and change with you. Are they committed? Are they dedicated? They might say that they are, but, put little things in place to just see how dedicated they are before you do anything. And one thing that I think is really good as well, if you find that person, again, Gregory, is it? I'm willing to hop on a one-on-one call with you to go a bit deeper on this with you, but you have to do all the bits and pieces. But once you find that person, again, I go through that journey with you, and I've a list of questions, potential questions to ask them, not like an interview as such. Well, it kind of is, but it's more of a relaxed conversation of questions, to see about that alignment. But once you find it and you think, okay, let's go, this is the person I'm looking for, do a trial run for about a month, possibly even 2 months. See how you work together. Again, it comes back to that, do you work well together? Because if the team is not solid, everything else falls apart. If you think about building a house, you have to have that solid foundation first, because it doesn't matter how well your bricklaying is, or your whatever else is in bricklaying. I'm not a bricklayer, so I can't give the descriptions, but if that solid isn't, or if that foundation is not solid first, everything else that's put on top of it falls apart, no matter how good that everything else on top of it is. Apologies that this is quite quick tonight, but reach out to me on our Slack group, Gregory, and I'll hop on a call with you to go deeper dive in that.
Really good point. Love the point that Kelly made about the trial period. Probably about a year or so ago, Startup Coach, actually, yes, I have advisors also, but a Startup Coach actually advised me to, on that same topic, a 3-month trial period for people wanting to join your team before you give them anything. So before you give them equity, cash, are you committed to this? And you'll find out in that time period. So that's really great advice. Did you have anything else you want to add, Kelly? I don't want to.
Tons of stuff, but I just don't have time to say. But it's just what I note to people as well. It is one of the things that we offer for free within our accelerator program. A lot of accelerators don't address the talent, and talent is like technology. There's lots, well, it's like any area in your startup journey. There's so many variables to it. We can only give so much advice, but whenever you're hands-on and you have that conversation, that one-on-one back and forth flow, things pop up. There's context there that you can kind of dive deeper on specific points. So one of the things that I do, because I'm VP of people in our accelerator, and I address those issues for you. So some of the free resources within that is helping find a co-founder for you. And I know what I'm looking for, so I can prevent those pitfalls that a lot of people, your best friend might be your best friend, but they might be your worst enemy if they start up with you, because you think it's my best friend. They're not gonna, I'm not saying anything about best friends, by the way, but you just have to be very, very careful. This is your baby. Look after your baby. You wouldn't leave your baby with a babysitter that is going to be drinking 10 tons of vodka. Probably bad explanation, but you get what I mean. Your baby is your baby. They can't fend for themselves, so they need you to fend for them.
Good point. I think the only thing I would want to add here is, who is the first team member that you need? It's not always a technical person. People want a technical founder first because they are thinking, I need to build a product quickly. But if you don't have a customer base, you don't need the product, not yet. So it could be that you actually need a subject matter founder or a subject matter team member. For my startup, that was actually my go-to target when I was looking for team members. I knew what experience I had, and I knew what experience my customers were going to want to hear from. So I immediately began scouring the internet for someone that I could align with, that I thought had subject matter expertise that can influence my customer from a sales perspective. So that was my first go-to. Also, I happen to be very technically savvy, so wasn't too worried. But definitely think about who you actually need first. And then it wasn't until maybe a couple of months after that that I brought on someone technical who actually volunteered. I just said, I mean, I happen to be good with words, but I just said, hey, this is what I'm building. And I started talking about it. And he's like, oh, me, I volunteered. And it's worked out really, really well. And I didn't even give him, any specifications for equity up front. He was just so open that I did after that. So there's so many things that we could talk about around this topic. Also, you want to also be careful about equity. I like using tools that help me to have a fair equity split between between the people that work with me, because I know that I'm hardworking. I'm likely going to outwork everyone. And if I'm dragging people along and no one else is working, then I've just set myself up to be exhausted and pissed. I just set myself up for that. And it's not even their fault, it's mine, because I didn't, put the proper things in place. So I'm not an affiliate of these guys, but I've been using them for a while. I like a tool called Slicing Pie. They have their own legal documents actually for like an operations agreement for you that you can establish with your team. And then they have their own methodology for how they calculate equity. And it's based on sweat equity. You're calculating the amount of hours that you spent, as well as the amount of cash that you put into the business. And then equity is divided like that. And my team loves it. For my startup loves it. We have 4 members of our team, and we've all earned sweat equity and used this tool. So I would definitely recommend it. And I'm not being paid by them to say that. So definitely check them out. But be careful, of course. Yes, this is your baby, as Kelly said, and you want to just be considerate of who you bring on your team, who you need on your team, and don't go crazy. Having a bunch of people around you isn't always good. And having a bunch of people in your ear isn't always good, especially at the beginning, because you're shaping a vision. Not everyone's going to believe it in the way that you do, and not everyone is going to value things like advisory. So just at the very beginning of building something, you want to seek advice. You want to seek advice from people who are going where you're trying to go, and they're going to give you advice that your team may not agree with. And you're going to have to decide, who am I going to, what advice am I going to take? And that's going to likely be a struggle for you. But I mean, you want to listen to someone that's been where you're going, or do you want to listen to your team who, they may mean well, but they may not necessarily know what steps you should take. So, if you guys aren't on the same page, foundationally, you may have a big argument. So you want to establish, hey, we have this advisor, and I intend on following their advice to the letter and only occasionally deviating. And I need you guys to be okay with that, because you know where you're trying to go. And if you lay out a vision, stick to it. So that was a lot to say just to explain the point of be careful who you bring on your team. Be careful about, think about who you actually need, and try to fill your team with the right people at the right time, and get advisors. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I'll jump in real quick just to tailspin on that. So the team always equals one as well, right? So just understanding that, right, the vision, the team should equal one, and just the understanding of where you're going, right? So there's this idea of strength in numbers. As Kira just outlined, it's like everyone's not always going to agree. So there's a sense of how does the team make a decision that's good for the baby, that's good for the business, so that it doesn't become this scenario of each person or two people think this and two people think that. It's overall the team has to operate. There are going to be things that are more important to one discipline, the financial arm of it, versus the sales and marketing arm, versus the ops arm, versus HR. So you have to just really start to understand that, which is a large part of what we do here is helping kind of mold that so people understand and it starts to come together. And then one other point I'm going to loop back to on what Paul said about having customers and prototype, right? The other thing is you don't want to practice on investors, just like we don't want to practice our sales opportunities on customers, especially enterprise customers. So again, that's what we're here for, whether it's Slack channel or you're joining the program and you're going to be a full-on participant. But it's a great space to practice because we've all been out here working with enterprise and other customers, and we have a sense of what they care about and what they're going to ask and how direct they're going to be, as Paul mentioned. So I wanted to just mention that as well.
I'm muted. Good point. Well, Paul, did you have anything you want to add? We are wrapping up. I think that was actually our last question. Oh.
No, I don't have anything like, too like game changing to add, but I will say, there's a quote by Warren Buffett, and he says, I didn't get rich by, investing, in this or that, right? Like some people get rich by investing in certain technologies and this and that, but I got rich by investing in the opposite of what other people are doing. So essentially, by paying attention to the kind of stupidity, so to speak, that happens in the business world and watching the mistakes of others and just not doing that, right? And so when you're evaluating, your startup, when you're trying to grow and build your startup, look at what, read case studies, read stories, read the untold stories that are happening. Why did certain companies fail after they got millions of dollars of investment, right? So, that's something to think about. And, the other thing that Warren Buffett says is, AI, the only thing that AI won't change is human behavior. Humans are humans, it's not going to change the way the human brain works. So, when you're building your company, no matter how much technology you have, you can have the greatest, what you think is the greatest product in the world. And one market may think so, but another market may subjectively think completely different. So, and you're not going to change that. So the point is that you have to understand, human psychology when you're going after customers, understand how they buy, what their motivations are, what are the cultural implications, is it a high context, low context type culture? And just to understand that, you're not going to change human psychology just because you've built what you think is a great technology, and that you're not necessarily, going to get rich or be uberly successful because you've built what you think is a great technology. You'll be successful by capitalizing on the mistakes that other people make. So those are my thoughts.
Good point. Good point. I think that is a great point to end on. So everyone listening to this recording, we've said it a number of times, but you guys need to be in our group. Our group is a place to be. It is completely free, and we are very active in the group. So we're messaging, we're asking if people have questions, we're doing exactly what we do here, except asynchronously coaching in the group. We're asking if you have obstacles in your way and maybe providing a resource for you that you may need, and that's completely free. But if you are ready to do some awesome things and to be in a co-working experience with people like ourselves, then you need to apply to our accelerator because it's awesome. And we love what we do. And we work with you guys to help you scale in the market. It is 13 months long. It is divided into 4 parts: idea validation if you're in that stage, growth enablement, sales enablement, and scaling enablement. We have partners within our network that we make warm introductions for you as well. Of course, there are no guarantees. I don't make you any promises, but I work with you. We all do. We're right there beside you, and we will help you scale. And if your product sucks, don't worry, I will tell you. And we will figure out what is best for you early so that you don't make a lot of the mistakes that we have seen and experienced. So I'd love to have you in the group and also in our program. Looking forward to it, everyone who's listening. And with that, we are signing off. Hi.
Bye.